Oh my goodness. Welcome in. It is ATB at the buzzer. Adam is hiding. We've got some theories. We'll get to them in a second. My name is Timmy. I am in Southern New Hampshire. We've got Billy in beautiful downtown Lowell. And of course, Scotty Dukes is here in beautiful downtown Maine. Tyler is, I don't know, is he out getting Funko Pops or he's working to get money to get Funko Pops? There's always an end game there. Yeah.
Little Shoe's birthday's next week, so
no, Little Heels.
Little Heels. Sorry,
Little Heels, Mother Heels. Yeah, it's very confusing. So we do appreciate you joining us. Of course, you can go to ATB Show. That is where all the YouTube content is. And to the one person ferociously commenting, we adore you. We adore you. We need your birthday, so we can send you a cake. We're gonna send them a Carvel cake. What Fudgy the Whale? It's also a tie. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think they make that anymore. I just dated myself.
Sure, we can find it.
Yeah, 2 minutes in, I'm already dating myself. So we've got a lot of things on the docket. Over the next few weeks, we've got some people popping in and popping out. I think Scotty Dukes, did you say that you're off next week?
I am. Yes.
I'm off next week. You're off next week. So I think Adam is back. Little Shoes might be back. Rubber Shoes will be here, a staple. And then above and beyond that, I think we need to cast a line and see if we can get Bobby Dugan on the show. So he's part of our fantasy team, fantasy group, which is where we're going to start tonight. And I think if we can get Bobby Dugan live from the West Coast, or I don't know, maybe on tape delay for sure. There's a lot of swearing usually when he loses. So we might need that 7-second delay. If we can get him on, you're going to see, obviously, you're going to get some of us every week. That's all we can promise, because we have some vacations, some weddings. I think Uncle Dukes is going to. I'm headed to West Virginia. I practice saying it without laughing, and I can't. It's the UCI World Cup for mountain biking. That is where we're heading Thursday. Bubba's staying back because of West Virginia. So Aiden's going to stay home because he's focused on school. Francis can't wait to not have school, so he's coming with. And we're driving down to watch people ride mountain bikes.
We had that mancation down in West Virginia that probably 15 years ago now. Oh, maybe you didn't go to that one.
Oh no, I missed that one. That was a Tommy Paquette special.
Yeah, it was great down there. It was I loved it.
Oh, so, I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it for the most part. There's a little bit of concern. There's the unknown. There's
beautiful
deliverance. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a pretty mouth and a nice bicycle. Yeah. Like, I don't know what's about to happen, but we're heading there for our mountain bike vacation. So all that's going on. Let's get into fantasy. First and foremost, do we have anybody have a scoreboard up in front?
I got it right here.
We can do the rundown. So, we'll run through the 5 matchups. I am happy to report that I got my ice kiked by the one and only. Yeah, your wife laid it on me. So we're going back and forth. And then, of course, because the Dewey Decimal System, our point system leaves it with, which we should have amended. I wasn't thinking out loud when this happened. It was 126.4 to 126 going into the final game. And she had the Rams kicker. And all he needed to do was get an extra point.
Yep.
Almost immediately. I feel like before the game started, like, by the way, the Rams start with an extra point. Yeah. So I was officially out of the running, and then he just added on after that.
I texted actually as soon as, because I was following along or whatever, and I said, I'm like, all you do is all he has to do is he needs to kick an extra point and call it a day. And I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it did. But anyway, and then as soon as Stafford threw that first touchdown, I just texted her from the basement, was like, you won, it's over. And then 138 to 126.4 in that one.
Yeah. Good times.
How are things in the house, by the way, Timmy?
Yeah,
because
let's talk about,
I want to talk a little bit about that. Bubba went toe to toe with the boss there for quite a while.
So Janina swept the legs and put him in a body bag.
She did. She finished it off.
Yeah, she took him out. So Bubba, we haven't had a conversation about it. When I'm leaving for the office in the morning, the boys are getting ready to leave for school, and it's usually just a quick hug and I love you and have a great day. And we didn't drill down on the fantasy stats. Janina woke up at 2:30 like it was Christmas morning to see if Santa had dropped off a win. And he had. So yeah, she
Yeah.
I don't know if she's having a cake made for him that, you suck, I'm better than you, whatever, but I'm sure there'll be some fist pumping going on tonight.
141 to 134 there. She saw someone going, so she's going to just pad that a little bit more.
So
it's going to be a triple layer cake apparently.
She won. Okay, keep going.
Rubbish shoes, and this is a strong possibility why Adam cannot be found. 158 to 130. They each have a guy going tonight. However,
Kenyon Drake needs to outscore Waller by 28.
By 28, which I don't see that happening at all. So Rubber Shoes just absolutely annihilated. There's a 99.9% chance that
I love when the probability keeps floating back and forth. And I do my best to not look. Horrified, and also I just love that I lost to your wife to open up like that. She's a better man than I am. I think we knew that 2 years ago. That being said, in the grand scheme of things, I did in my only other league. I think Rubber Shoes in another league. I'm in that my neighborhood league, which I'm going for my 3-peat, which won't happen. But I did win my other league. So
nice,
painstaking. So now Rubber Shoes laid it on Adam. What do we got next?
So then Dugan beat up Tyler pretty good, actually, 171, and he still has someone going tonight to 159. And then it's not good. I feel really bad for Stephanie. 188 to 123. I'm beating her by quite a bit with still got Tucker to go tonight. So I'm going to be getting very close to 200 points for this week. So, and depending on what Tucker does tonight, but so that's your.
So Janina's played fantasy before. Aiden has played fantasy before. I know this is Dugan's first time.
Oh, is it really?
Oh, so he's probably still out celebrating. I feel, he's like Ray Lewis after the Super Bowl. Watch yourself. Look out. Right. Yeah. So he's out celebrating. Because the only reason I ask is he asked me at the onset of this, when I sent the invite, what is a snake draft? And no judgment if you've never done fantasy football. You're an adult. I appreciate that. Welcome to the masses. And then he also wanted to know if it was for money or fun.
Right.
And I'm like, it's for both. It's for funny. We're gonna call it it's a funny league. So there's nothing involved except bragging rights. We just wanted to do it for sheer entertainment, which pulls me back to last week and the apology we owe all 4 of our viewers. We absolutely, that was a poor judgment on the broadcast side. That was going to be intriguing viewing.
So I got a comment on it. As everyone knows on the show, I do listen to the show or watch it again. And first of all, I don't remember much that was said during the show, during the recording. I'm like, man, I don't know. Where was I? I'm like, was I that focused on that?
There wasn't much said.
But it actually wasn't awful. It actually, I thought it wasn't too bad. I was like, listen to him, like, that wasn't awful to get through an hour. So, and I do owe you an apology, Timmy, because the way it came out about Aiden's golfing, it came out very bad, and that's not how I intended it.
I know that.
I really was kind of asking. Like, I wanted to know, how was it? Did you you went to it, and how did it go? And it came up. I was like so rushed getting to the start of the show last week.
He was ornery. Well, and the other half of that, what was really funny is you made it sound like you're in 15 other paying leagues.
Yeah, no,
you're in one other league.
It was just because it was so rushed to get on this show that it threw everything off. Like, actually doing although Mother Shoes says she'll never do 2 drafts in a night again.
I imagine 2 in a night is
it's the whole night. It was an hour to do this one, and then our other one was like an hour and a half, and it was like it ruins like the whole night's shot.
Well, let me say this concerning that. I'm throwing this out. I think next year we do a snake. Everyone goes auto. We do it in the afternoon, and then we come on and talk about who everybody got stuck with. That would be
what? No way. I don't trust the auto draft. Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I would. No way.
You know how much time would to actually do it properly, to get the plays that you would want and not want. It takes it'll take hours to go through all the list of players to.
Oh, no,
pick people out
nobody's allowed to set it up.
Oh,
Everybody, we go snake, auto, walk
everyone
away.
gets 4
Yeah,
quarterbacks.
taste his choice. Yep. I love it. No, nobody.
I'm just getting anxiety immediately. Like it's
I
already
like-
I like us setting up.
Scotty's
doing the
brimming up for
draft,
200 points. He's like, I can't have that. Mike.
setting up the draft prior and then talking about it on the show.
I know
first.
it's like
I kind of would do
Yeah.
that.
Well, yes. So agreed. So yes, next fall we will do our draft the weekend prior to kickoff. I think we're gonna do.
the only way to do a good draft during the show itself is if we could screen share, show the picks as we go and things like that. And I think that's and if we can't do that for many reasons, then yeah, I think I agree. We do it off.
I think the music got out, Scotty, and we're still here, so that's good news. And what I would love to do, but that we typically do in the Chelmsford Neighborhood League, is we go to somebody's house, which everybody, like I joked last week, everybody stayed home for a myriad of reasons. But even if we just met in some central location for all of us, bar, sometimes restaurants will give you a back room as long as we drink and eat enough, which I look at the screen. I think we'll figure that out. And I think if we did that, that would be super cool too. But yes, we'll do it before, then we can talk about our crappy teams in the show, as opposed to people watching people select people for a thing about the I'm
sure the visual, I didn't watch it, I just listened to it on Spotify, and it actually wasn't, there was talking going on the whole, there wasn't long pauses of nothing, and it was actually not too bad.
Well, if we can get like McConaughey and a few other people to be in our draft, I mean, I think we might get a few more viewers, but other than that, I think we might keep that off the board for next year, and we'll do it differently. But we're 1 week in, and all the usual suspects have won already. So we'll see how it goes. I believe we go into a 14th week, and then it hits the playoffs, right? Because we're going to use week 15, 16, and 17.
I 15, realized 16, 17 when I was setting up my other draft going in, because we were debating whether having 1 division or 2 divisions. So we put a vote out. And then when I went in to change some of the stuff, I realized they added the 14 week, because usually before this year it was only 13 weeks.
Correct.
They added a week to the regular season of real football, and they did it also for fantasy.
Yep. So yeah,
one thing I never
one you ignore now.
Did check, by the way, did they update the bye weeks? So you know how the bye weeks, every team has to be done, or is usually done by the bye week by like week 14.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. So is that where it's going to go now? Does it end?
I think it is 14.
So they extended it. So teams,
I don't think I had any
that's something I never checked.
We're past week 14.
Yeah,
when I saw that 14, I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna have a guy on bye the first week of the playoffs that fit that, and then found out the 14 weeks of the fantasy season.
Yeah, okay.
So they know what they're doing, apparently.
Oh sure, right? Yeah, in Roger we trust. I feel like nobody wants that shirt, but we can have 2 made for his wife and his dog. So the Pats. Somebody had to cobble down our predictions, because I'm already moving in the right direction. And begrudgingly, like, don't get me wrong. Am I watching yesterday? Absolutely. Well, first half, we were still driving home. Aiden had a lacrosse recruit college visit, and we were driving home yesterday for that. We got home for the second half, watched that, and he looks good. I'm not going to say he doesn't look good. One of our friends, Corey, texted me and says, he looks good. And I just wrote back, sure. He's like, you don't like him? I'm like, I absolutely love him. I love that we're forward motion. The cat in the hat is on a 50-yard line talking about his aura. Cool. Awesome. You're not here anymore. Let's move forward. And I just, I'm sticking to my 8-9. I'm not here to change that at all. How does everybody feel after that? Because we were in the car going to golf, and Aiden and I were running through the schedule, because he heard me say 8-9. He's like, dude, Dad, you're out of your mind. And I'm like, roll through them with me. And we went through the schedule on his phone, and he ended up at 9-8. So diametrically opposed from me. Yeah. He also
before yesterday or after yesterday?
Before yesterday. And he said 9-8, and his belief system was that they'd take both Miami games, which is now out the window.
Yeah. So the initial, I don't know on our show or not, but I know other shows.
Yeah.
It was they were going to be 3-0 going into the Tampa Bay game. Well, I think there's a good chance they're 1-2 going into that Tampa game because New Orleans looked really good yesterday.
And I'm not sold on the Jets. And I'm not just doing this to be the contrarian. I'm not sold on the Jets game. I think we found a lot of ways to F up yesterday. And I think on the road in a loud Jet stadium, anything is possible, and that could be a throwaway statement. It probably is. You're welcome. But can you imagine 0-3 welcoming Tommy back?
No.
I know you're excited. You got a shirt on already. I just don't. I don't. That's horrifying to me. Horrifying.
I don't see that happen. Look, I mean, as bad as they played, and they made a lot of mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, look, everyone's gonna talk about Mac, and I thought Mac did look great. He looked amazing, right? He looked really, really good. 29 of 39. I mean, one touch.
No picks is the key.
No turnovers.
That's
and
huge. And I love
he
that
only
he
had
scored
one
a
pass.
touchdown. They kept trying to give him the ball, and he
didn't give a shit.
back.
Yeah, and he even said that after the game too. He's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. He's like, it doesn't. We need more of those. We, it doesn't matter. But he only threw one pass that I saw too. That was actually like he read the defense wrong and he almost threw a pick. That was the only one that he had. But as badly as they played in regards to penalties, some were questionable. Refs were terrible for both teams, by the way. There was a terrible couple of Miami calls too. But all the penalties and then the 2 turnovers, the 4 total fumbles with the 2 turnovers, like the fact that they, in all honesty, should have won that game is, to me, a testament to where that team is going to go. Because everyone does this in football, especially. It's a week by week reaction. It's the overreaction to that week of oh my God.
Yeah.
Like right now, and like you said, Billy, like Saints look really good, but it's week 1. I would say the Patriots almost looked as good, if not better, than Buffalo did against the Steelers. Right. And now you're going to, I think Buffalo's not.
I think the Patriots defense looked horrible yesterday.
Really? They had 2 bad drives. They had 2 bad.
Couldn't stop the run at the end of the game to take the ball over to possibly win. They couldn't. That was their problem last year. They couldn't stop.
But the problem is here. But when you only have the time of possession of 23 minutes compared to 36. To me, that's good defense. They had 2 bad drives. They stopped them numerous times and gave the offense many chances to go score. That's the biggest thing, is that they couldn't score in the red zone. When the Pats got the ball in the red zone, they're kicking fucking field goals. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is like one of their biggest issues. But I thought the Patriots defense, 17 is higher. I agree. 17 is higher than I expected them to give up to Miami. But I give Miami credit.
I don't think Miami's that good. So I don't think the Patriots look good against a not very good team.
Even though Miami was on the cusp of the playoffs last year, though, and had a better record than the Pats last year.
We were on the cusp of the playoffs last year too. But
I'm just saying, like, I think it's a lessons learned type of game. I don't think this is this is what's setting up for the rest of the year kind of a situation, in my opinion.
Well, they kept showing Damian, and I thought, like, he's just sitting there. They kept showing him. Well, I got another question too, and it's completely aesthetic, but I'm still going to ask it because that's what I do. They kept showing him, and I felt so bad for him because he's dying, and I'm like, I thought to myself, is Bill enough of a maniac that he's cut tomorrow? Like, honestly, that was like, I know he's not, because he's a stud. I know, but I was just like, oh my God, like
I hope not, because I have him as my number 2 running back in my.
I thought you were going to say you bought his jersey.
No.
He bought his Funko Pop.
So, Riandre Stevenson was nowhere to be found after that fumble.
Yep.
Well, it was the fumble, and then he did come back out, but then he fucked up the block when that low hit on Mac Jones's knee that they end up calling on a former Patriot, Landon Roberts.
Yep.
What happened was, Stevenson was just terrible, which is something Ivan Fears talked about, in the beginning of the preseason, is that the kid's a stud when you could see him run. He can run. He can run.
Yeah.
But he needs to figure out the blocking scheme and things like that. And that's a big reason why, not just the fumble, but also the fact that he needs to learn how to freaking block. That's why you saw Sweet Feet out there. By the way, they never really announced why JJ wasn't out there. But I don't know. It's like you saw Bolden and Harris and White in a lot of like situations to help, chip and block and things like that too. But,
Yep. So my aesthetic question, which I was hyper confused, what was on the field? And I have to imagine it was part of the Nike grind. The Target company that makes the field turf. They're one of the bigger brands, and I think they're the ones that laid the field turf for the pads most recently. And these are little stupid things, but like there was a whole article on it when it happened. The last time they did the field turf at Gillette, and maybe they did it most recently, and that's what caused this. One of the choices they have was to make the Nike grind. It's basically soles of sneakers and ground up tire, that rubber that holds the grass up, right? That when they do the toe drag, you see it kick up. They had the option of making the Nike grind brown or black. And they made it brown a few years ago, but it never caused. Did you see their jerseys? The white of their jerseys almost looked muddy. Like, is there like another, like, is it like a whole new version of it that's supposed to look like dirt to make it more realistic, which seems like too much thought process behind the whole thing? But I'm like, what am I missing that they've got like brown, like they've got like dirt on their jerseys? And I don't know if that's the new fill on the field, because it's the same field. It's not a new field, but
I don't know.
Add a new layer. I just thought that was interesting. Or if they're actually putting now like actual earth in there to make it truly more realistic, because people are having so many injuries. But I don't feel like that's a great answer either. I just couldn't figure that out. I'm like, what is going on with their shirts that we seem to have a lot of our players. Damian, for one, had the whole front was all jacked up, and I just thought that was interesting, and I wasn't sure what was the story behind that.
Did it rain the night before? I'm trying to remember.
I feel like the whole region had rain, so they probably did. I guess that
I don't know if that makes a difference or not.
That certainly might cause it. What was your highlight and your low light? Like, what do you think was the best thing about yesterday's game for the Pats?
I love the pass to James White. Drop it in the bucket. That was so sweet.
It was like Brady, yes, you know what I mean? Like they ran that classic wheel route, you know what I mean? And
when I
put it right over.
After he threw that pass, I'm like, I don't see Cam Newton making that pass.
No.
Not at least not now. Maybe back in his prime, but definitely not now.
Yeah. No, he looked really good. And I think that, like Scotty was talking about, like, I think outside of Mac's fumble, and obviously the fumble did Mac have a fumble too? Did we have three?
He did. That was like one of his first plays where he had dropped back. He got pressure and he turned around and threw the ball at the ground of Jonnu Smith.
Yeah,
I think he's trying to throw an incomplete, but it ends up, of course, it's a fumble because it's a backward pass. You know what I mean? It's a lateral. But yeah, so there were 4 total fumbles. They lost 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to say this now. If you clean all that up, it's a wildly different game. Just the turnaround on us about to go in and score, turning into a reverse all the way back where they ended up, holding onto the ball. I think that obviously changes everything. I just don't know the Saints game. Like, did the Saints actually treat that as a trap game and they're looking past us because they're full of piss and vinegar, because we could be 1-1 going into that and they'll be 2-0? Like,
well, there's no guarantee they're 2-0 though. Here's the thing. Look, with the Saints, we got to talk about Aaron Rodgers, because that homeboy did not look like he gave
let's get to
in that game at all. Some of his throws, I was like, what is happening? And 2, raise your hand if you trust Jameis Winston.
Well, he can put up yards and touchdowns. He's shown
without a doubt, but he can also throw up a lot of interceptions.
He was the interception king 2 years ago, right?
Yes.
They smothered Devontae Adams. That defense, that defense looked really good too. It's not, Rodgers didn't look great, but the defense also attributed to that, because they smothered, like that one. He threw one pass. It was a quick snap, and he threw it to Adams just to get him a reception, because they were all over him that whole game, double teaming him the whole game.
Right. I'm not like trying to say New Orleans is a bad team. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, I don't look at them as I wouldn't look at them as like a top tier team right now in the NFL. Again, because but I'm also like, I don't week one to me is just, it's so, even the week, like first 4 weeks of the year, it's so hard, especially now that we have an additional, regular season game. The first 4 weeks, your team's going to look so much different than it will, 6 weeks after that. You know what I mean? It's hard to react that way. But with Winston, that's the other thing too. It just makes me, but Rodgers, I don't know, going back to Rodgers anyway, is he trying to get a trade? Do you think he's just like, is he going to just,
at this point?
That's really funny. Like,
very rare that a trade happens in season.
I agree.
in the NFL.
Not like this, at least not that.
oh no,
not
sure,
that drastic.
that caliber. No,
Yeah.
So
If you're
I don't-
going in, you have to learn a whole new play system, and it's very tough,
Oh yeah.
especially at quarterback.
the stats, I don't have it in front of me. Was Alvin Kamara a factor?
He played well.
Did he play well? Well,
Yeah.
here's my thought process. Like it's like the third at bat or the fourth at bat for somebody against a pitcher, which nobody stays in that long anymore. Like, did he sort of get the refresh? I'll joke about this. Like in real estate, the thing to do in real estate is if you want to refresh your listing, you pull it off the market for 30 days. And then it doesn't have to go back on as a price improvement. It goes on as a new listing. I feel like he's been off the map long enough that the NFL had to relearn what his skill set is, and he sort of got away with one. And I'm not saying he's not skilled. I'm not saying that he couldn't have come back and he's full of piss and vinegar. He's worked on some things, and he's going to be like this all year. I just think it was such an outstanding performance for him that this might be an anomaly. And you're not going to get that from him again, because now the blueprint's there. And anything that Green Bay screwed up, because Green Bay walked in like, we got this figured out. It's friggin' Jameis Winston. But they didn't. I mean, there were some plays that he had where just Green Bay was like, oh, they snapped it. Like they literally looked surprised to be on the field in a couple of those. But I did not see if Kamara was like a factor or not, because we got home, we're watching the Pats, and they showed an update. They showed Jameis slinging one, and Janina's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And then they were talking about the guy that came in for Green Bay,
Jordan Love.
Oh, sorry. We saw, I'm sorry. We actually saw Jordan Love taking snaps, and Janina's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. Did he get hurt? But we would have heard that.
Yeah, Rodgers didn't play the fourth quarter.
He threw for like 138 yards and 2 picks. I mean, Winston only threw for 148 yards. He had 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But
very efficient.
He was like 14 of 20 or something like that, but he didn't throw for a ton of yards.
I mean, another thing with Sean Payton is an offensive guru, and he could have worked with him. I'm not like, I agree with you, Scotty Dukes. I don't trust him either. He can have 5 touchdowns this week and then go for 5 picks next week.
Yeah,
so,
right.
But their defense looked really good. The rest of their team, Tyler and I had talked about, I thought New Orleans was still going to be a decent team, even though they lost Breeze. Tyler thinks they were going to be awful, and he kind of changes. And he also said Pittsburgh was going to be awful, and I said they were going to be really good. And
Pittsburgh looked awful in that first half offensively.
Yep. But
their defense looked really good.
That's the whole reason why I was behind Pittsburgh when I was talking about that, is that their defense is really good, and if the offense, as long as Roethlisberger doesn't get hurt, even though he doesn't look that great and he does look old, but they don't like Rudolph isn't gonna carry that team.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
I would say too, you asked the question before about like highlights, lowlights. Honestly, one of the highlights I did like, I know that you guys weren't thrilled with their defense, but one of the things that I enjoyed watching, because we haven't seen a lot of it these last few years, is like when it was like 3rd down and long, they were pinning their ears and they were actually getting to the quarterback.
Yep.
They were making it uncomfortable. They were hitting him, like the interception by Jonathan Jones. Like, by the way, which I'm shocked they did not throw a flag on Judon when he, laid into, which was it was a legal hit, but well, just the way that the game had been going. But they were able to pin their ears and actually get pressure on the quarterback, which was something that was absolutely amazing to me. And that was like, to me, one of the best highlights that I saw. I mean, obviously low lights to me. I just, the penalties and turnovers,
and this sounds like a tab A slot B comment, and here it comes anyway. Like if we don't pressure the quarterback, especially in week 4, what's his name? Shit.
Starts
like
with a T.
I feel like it's Brady. I feel like Brady, unlike any other quarterback, because you can watch a lot of other quarterbacks have too much time and they'll go through their 15th progression and they still won't find somebody open. We give him too much time, he's going to slice us, right? So they've got to get to him. I also got to be honest, I don't want the Patriots to be the team that hits him and Mo Lewis is him either. So I want a happy medium of a lot of Tom Brady hurries. I would like to not give him enough time and not get his uniform. I don't want to see him get hurt at Gillette. That we would never live that down as a race of people, which is New Englander asshole in jorts with a Brewski t-shirt and 15 natty lights in their stomach, right? Like we would never live. And that wouldn't go well at all in any environment. So I just think if they can, that was shocking yesterday. Like it was so fun to watch Uche and Judon, whether he was in the backfield or he was way down helping out JC Jackson. I was like, he was all over the place.
He was. The only thing I had a complaint with him was, and I screamed this at the television, I'm like, you're not on Baltimore anymore, is when he got that penalty. When he got that personal foul penalty, which after they had just had a punt and Gunner brought it back to they were, I think that their own 46 or something, like a great field position, and then it's 15-yard penalty. And I'm like, you're not a fucking Raven anymore. Use your friggin' head, would you? Jesus Christ. Speaking of weird shit, though, did you guys know what happened? Because Quinn Nordin, apparently the kicker,
Quinn Nordine, Janina's future ex-husband.
Janina's, yes, that's right. Yep. He didn't kick yesterday. Folk kicked. And then they just announced that Folk and Hoyer just went back to the practice squad. So apparently Nordine's going to kick this week. Why didn't he kick yesterday? Did anybody hear this?
They called him. Oh. They moved him up right before the game started. Because I was waiting to see Quinn, but there was a lot of conversation in the last few days before the game about how people felt like the scuttlebutt around camp, or I should just say around practice, was that they weren't fully convinced that he could be ready in that environment. So, but
he's gonna be ready to go to friggin' to New York. I don't know.
I have a feeling
I would rather have Nick and
Folks going to be honestly.
I think so too. I'm so much more comfortable. Sorry, Janina, that to have Nick Folk out there.
You know fine. She doesn't want him to get hurt, scuffed, or
so. Some more on the defense. Chase Winovich was on with the midday show on another channel.
On the other network. You can say that. It could mean 8.5 or 3.7.
They had a 5 to 10 minute conversation about Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, dude. He's all about it. He's all about it.
I was looking for it. I couldn't find the tweet. I guess he tweeted something that had nothing to do with New Hampshire, and he did hashtag Portsmouth, New Hampshire as part of his tweet just out of nowhere, and they were asking him about that, and he loves that up here.
So that's literally like 10 minutes from where I live.
Yep.
And my wife went to high school there and all that. One of the guys that he spent a lot of time with.
He's a Clipper?
Yep. Yeah, she was from Rye. She is from Rye. I should say.
Polloi. I forgot.
Yes, I know. Yes. Yeah, right.
God, he's a kept man.
I married up. Come on. The only reason we're in Maine is because we had land.
Smell that? It's low tide money.
Yeah. That's it. That's the only reason that we built here is because there's 2.5 acres that the family said, here you go. Anyway, apparently he hung out with one of her former classmates, Tyler, a ton, and was chatting him up or whatever. And he funny. Loves Portsmouth. Yep. Absolutely loves the area. And you'd see him in town and stuff like that. It was nuts.
And you can't miss
he absolutely loves it here. It's great. No.
Apparently he's a huge history buff, and he was talking about Portsmouth. Yep. It's the only peace treaty ever on the United States soil was done in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. FDR had the leaders of Russia and Japan are there, and they worked out a peace treaty up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Interesting. Yeah, well, so he will constantly do, and I don't know what network I see it on. He's constantly doing stuff for Wentworth by the Sea.
Yes,
which is a beautiful hotel. I believe it's part of the Marriott family, and their golf course is outstanding.
If you can get on.
We're fortunate enough. The Seacoast Board of Realtors has been playing their tourney there. So Monday the 27th, when I'm not here, the next 2 weeks.
Do you need a caddy?
I'm not here the next 2 weeks. What?
You need a caddy? No?
I've got a full slate. I've got a full slate. Anyway, so but he'll be out there, and I can't remember the hole, but there's a hole by the water where you're heading over the bay back onto towards the property, and he's out there in like board shorts, a tank top, very Gronk-esque, a tank top, and flip flops. And he's like, selling the whole fact that you got to come play at the Wentworth and Portsmouth and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he fell in love with it. He moved up here, I want to say about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Almost soon after he was signed. Yep. Why now? In town, marching around. And I don't know if he's single or not. So watch your girls. Watch your girls. Yeah. Watch your girls. Yeah.
Before we move on to the Pats, though, do we want to, I know it's the Monday after a dick punch of a loss, but do we want to talk about the Jets? Sorry, is that not a thing? Since, going into next week, which, by the way, the place that we're going to the wedding, they rented a house for basically from Thursday through like Monday. And I'm going back like late Monday to help them clean up and everything like that. Yep. It's Mr. Dodge there. And he's marrying up, definitely. So anyway, so they have a theater room, apparently, like big theater room or whatever.
All right.
And so I told the bride to be, Tina, I said, look, I'm going to help you guys. I'm going to lug stuff up from Alton and do all these things. I'm going to help you guys out. I'm going to MC some of the parts of it, whatever. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff. I asked one request. At 1 o'clock,
leave me alone.
That room is mine.
Yeah.
That is it. That's the only request that I have. It's Pats, it's Jets, it's at 1, and I want that. She literally emailed me the itinerary, and she has on there theater room, 1 o'clock, Scott's. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. It's
1 to 3:59 if we lose, 1 to 8 o'clock if we win. Yeah.
Yep. Without a doubt. Yes,
more beer under the door. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. But I hate the Jets. For me, this is insane for a lot of people to hear, but the Jets to me have always been in there with the Yankees. Like, I despise them. As much as they're terrible, but I hate them so much because there's always been games that either I've attended or watched that just, either the Patriots just let them hang around, or the Jets defense always pissed me off, with Ryan and all those guys. So the Jets week to me is always a big week, regardless of, obviously for the last few years, they've been absolutely terrible, but looking forward to the defense just, beating up on Wilson. I didn't watch a lot of the Jets game. I don't know if you guys caught a lot of it. But I've heard mixed reviews on how well he played.
Was sketchy the first 3 quarters, and then that fourth quarter, that's when he's got the 2 touchdowns. He looked comfortable in the fourth quarter, but Carolina's not that good either. So
right,
it was kind of hard to tell. It's like,
gotcha.
You had McCaffrey looked good. Darnold was okay.
Did you see him though when he scored? I think it was a rushing. I want to say it was a rushing touchdown. I was watching in a red zone. I was catching it that way. And then he did the jet. He did he did that thing. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Just because
that's funny.
Yeah, and then, was that Robbie Anderson? Might have been Robbie Anderson started that or something like that.
Well, it was
both the former Jets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see like a lot of Wilson, like watching him one-on-one. But does anyone think that the Pats are going to lose this game?
No.
What does Vegas say right now? What's the line? Do we have the line?
I'll tell you. Give me a second.
But remember, Vegas is just trying to get people to vote.
I appreciate that. Well,
very true.
That was so interesting too, because I think I joined a Survivor League. I'm already out. And I think I think this weekend
it was a tough week. I'm in one. Yeah. I won, but when I was going through all the picks, I'm like, there's none of these that are like.
Everybody was 3.5 points, 4.5 points. There were a lot of.
I took San Francisco over Detroit, and then Detroit almost came back and tied. They had a chance to tie it at the end of the game, after San Fran was up 31-10.
Yeah, I felt like Atlanta at home could handle Philly, right? Because you don't have to cover the spread; you just have to win.
Yeah.
And God, they got labeled. So I'm already out. And like just historically, like week 1 is such a if you're an amateur and I'm an amateur, I'm on DraftKings throwing down $20 a game, maybe. Like if you're an amateur, like this was a week you should just step back and let the world sort
That's a big
itself out.
spender. I only do like dollar bets.
On DraftKings, they let you do $1.
Yeah. I do. I'll do $1 and like and parlay the ridiculous parlays, and is like $1 will win you like 1,000.
Oh, okay.
Just try to catch magic in a bottle, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Or lightning in a bottle.
Pats are
The other
5.5
thing with the
right now.
Jets and the Pats, what is it?
5.5.
5.5, and then so you
Over under 42.
That'll move.
So
That'll
they
move.
usually -3 for the home field advantage. So they're in a neutral site, they'd be favored by 8.5.
I think that the press, and I haven't listened to anything this week as of this morning. I think that it's going to be obviously the easy story is Zach versus Mac, right? And they're going to focus on the kids and who got the better pick, and did the Patriots make a mistake and they should have grabbed Zach Wilson, which he wasn't there anyway. That was a really bad article.
Did the Jets make a mistake because they had
and I don't think they did.
both.
I liked him. I really liked him. I wouldn't have been upset if we had grabbed him. I mean, now I have to hate him because he's in the wrong uniform. But I really liked him. I think he is going to be serviceable. I hate to say he's going to be good because that's going to make our life very difficult over the next 10 years if he lasts that long. Which everybody's like, oh no, you last 40 years a quarterback, do you? No, there's only one of those guys. There's only one left.
Well, good. The AFCs could be really interesting if Tua hits, Mac hits, Wilson, and then Allen with Buffalo already. So there could be a great quarterback division.
Allen's the old man now. He's 25.
Yeah.
Because Wilson's still 22 and Tua and Mac are both 23 because Mac just turned 23. Yeah. But yeah, it's
good next
crazy
10 years.
Yeah.
And do you guys feel like Tua is the answer in Miami?
I think
he's there fine right now.
I mean, it all depends. I mean, I didn't see a lot yesterday. I mean, when he threw the deep ball, I got excited, and we didn't even have Gilmore, and I was like, "That's fine, go ahead." I want you to throw that deep. You threw the slant fine, and threw a couple other things But the other thing is too with the Dolphins, they were missing a few players, like especially two of their wide receivers too. Obviously, Will Fuller will be back next week. I want to say Preston Williams, somebody like that too. So, but I don't know. I could see Tua sticking around. It depends on he's got a long way to go. I think he needs to clean up a lot of stuff. A lot.
Other thoughts on the NFL before we move to our wonderful Hunter Renfroe. Oh my God. Right. I mean, well, there's a ton of stuff we can talk about with the Sox, but I think the one off the field thing that has taken everybody by storm is that he triple, it's like double dog dare you when you stick your tongue to the flagpole in Christmas Story. Like he doubled down on the MLB told us not to test. If I forget what the framework of it was, rubber shoes, bring us up to speed.
Yeah, so it wasn't that they told them not to test. They were just people that had been vaccinated. They weren't testing them unless they had symptoms.
Okay.
So that's because they didn't want numbers, because obviously it seems like everyone on the Red Sox is getting it, vaccinated, non-vaccinated. So I don't know where they came out with this 93% that you're vaccinated against the virus. Well, it seems like 100% of the people that get in contact with someone with COVID gets it also, even if they have the vaccine.
I was just gonna say, well, yeah.
Well, that's why, like, when people gave Belichick a bunch of shit about what he said, where he's like, he came out and said, look, you guys keep talking about vaccinations as like it's a blanket, essentially, and Amy and I talked about that too. It's like, just because, we thought the same thing, because we felt, even though we're vaccinated, we could still get sick. You could still get the virus. The vaccine isn't a shield against the virus. And that's what I think what Belichick was trying to say. He wasn't saying like, don't get the vaccine. That's not what he was saying. He's saying that, that narrative that was being kind of pushed out around, if you have the vaccine, you're good. Don't worry about it. That's not really what it was. But I think with the weird thing with Hunter Renfroe, the way he worded it though, was like, we're just not going to test you anymore. Doesn't matter if you're all getting it. Just MLB saying, just figure it out on your own. And I think that's where it was like, really though? Do you? I was surprised he said that.
You know, it's kind of funny that Major League Baseball came back and said, "Oh no, he's got his information wrong," and then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, Sale got popped.
Yeah,
Santana got popped. Rules got popped. They had nobody for like 3 days, and then all of a sudden, so it's like, oh, maybe he called them out, and then they started testing people again, because I don't think those 3 players had symptoms. They just
got tested
positive.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, because like Duran had it. Like, I mean, it's funny if you look at the Red Sox. Like, if you bring up like their injury list, the only one that has like a legit injury the last few days has been like that's been reported was JD Martinez. It's like a back injury. Everyone else is illness. You know, as you go, it's pretty funny.
The last 2 games because of that back.
Yeah. I mean, to take only 1 out of 3 against Chicago, I was a little disappointed. I mean, they were good games. Pavetta pitched really, really well.
I know.
Too.
He ends up. They get him when he is on. They don't get him any run support. When he sucks, they lose like 8-7.
Right. It's true. It really is.
Like he pitches a gem, gives up one gem nowadays. I tell you, when I'm doing the wrap up every morning, I'm like, oh, a solid outing by Evaldi, 5 1/3 innings.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is
crazy. 4 2/3 innings.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like they're going 5-6 innings. Him and Sale, even Erod, Evaldi, and Sale, they're going, maybe 6. They touch 6 innings, but they're getting like 8 to 10 strikeouts a game.
Yeah,
in those 4 or 5 innings.
Yeah, and their pitch count's high. I mean, I think that's a big reason. A lot of the times you'll see them at like, high is a strong word. It's high for like these days, because like you hit 90, it's like we gotta take him out. Like
basically. Did you guys listen to the Big Show back in its heyday?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. The Weiner line and all that.
Dick Raddick's on all the time.
Yep.
And he said that they're just we didn't even know what our pitch count was. We were probably throwing 200 pitches a game, and we could go on and on and on. We didn't have injuries like they do nowadays, and it's almost like it's just the wussification of the position.
Yeah,
every pitcher has to get Tommy John surgery, no matter what. It's almost like okay, he's coming out of Pawtucket or Woo Sox now, and he has 1 season, and he's on. We're not going to have him for a year because he has to have Tommy John.
Right.
Yeah. Almost every pitcher, and some of the guys that they've been pulling up from Worcester to come for these, starts out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, he's 25, 26-year-old. This is his major league debut. He missed a year and a half due to Tommy John surgery, and it's almost every pitcher gets Tommy John surgery now.
Yeah. You even see him come out of college sometimes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I think some of that is the way in which they're training, the velocity in which they're pitching consistently, right? I like how many right now actively in the major leagues, how many knuckleballers are there? It wasn't across the board, but it was more prevalent, right? Now it's like everybody's changeup is touching 90. It feels like. I mean, I'm joking.
I mean, how many Greg Maddux or like Tom Glavines are? You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's that. I think it's the specialization, because you get your starter, and then you've got your middle relief, then your middle relief, then you have second breakfast, 11Zs. You're a setup man, right? Like there's all these different, to watch a game and go through 6 people, like that's, because you bring out one guy for the lefty, and now they made the thing where you have to face a certain amount of people, and you can't do that anymore. But it still hasn't solved the problem. It's not a problem. It's just the new baseball. I just think they've got to be careful on how intricate they've made it and how unfavorable it is to long-term viewing. Like I treat it almost like a college basketball game. Like I'll tune in for the end, and I'll check at the end.
My thought process has always been,
I'm sorry, Scotty.
As a kid, every season had a sport. Like I played baseball in the spring and the summer.
Yep.
Played football in the fall, play basketball in the winter, and hockey. It now, if you like a sport, you're playing it year round.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even
Yep.
baseball, they're playing indoors. It's batting
Yep.
cages every
Yep.
day, pitching every day. They're
Yep.
going to clinics, and the arms are getting used way more, even though they're doing pitch counts in Little League at
Yep.
the Little League World Series and stuff. It's still they're in the games, they're not doing much, but everything they're doing outside of the game is probably 100 times more than what we did as kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, as soon as Aiden knew, and I mean, Aiden's spring sport, he was gonna, and this is probably like third grade, I forget what it was, but he was gonna go. he did track. He's a Lindsay. I'll just let that sit for a second. Yeah, he wasn't doing that. Yeah. Short white kid runs slow. So he was like, "No, I'm pretty good with this actually," and he was gonna go back to baseball. And I'm like, before we do that, I said, let's go check out lacrosse. I think you're gonna like it, because he was obviously knee deep in Pop Warner at that point. And he did, and he loved it, and he's played it ever since. And now that when we got to Co Brown, their high school does not have football. Just said that out loud in America. Their high school doesn't have football. Tons of room for a field. Apparently no desire for discretionary income that they could create on a Friday night in Northwood and Stratford, where there's nothing to do. I'll put my card away later. I'm not passionate about it at all. It's so stupid. Anyway, so they don't have football. So obviously at that point, he's like, okay. And that's when he leaned into, because at that point he had moved over to the Black Bears, had started a feeder team or a feeder league for Co Brown lacrosse, which finally came to the high school, which is a contact sport, but don't tell the headmaster. And then he's like, okay, the Hooligans became his club team. So he plays obviously for the high school in the spring, and they do some off-season stuff, but he's doing stuff year round, to Billy's point, with the Hooligans. And one of my good friends is also his coach, who's putting him through a workout now that plays into the strengths that he needs for lacrosse, and also now for golf, because he did pick that up for the fall. But he's doing, for the most part, 1,000% of his attention is on lacrosse.
Yeah.
And if you've got a football kid, he's got a kid that he went to. Remember when he did Patriots camp a while ago, and he was going to he'd go and they'd spend a whole week. They'd stay in the dorms. I think they've moved it to Merrimack now. And he's got friends that still do it actively. And he met a kid. I'm going to forget his first name for the life of me. Last name's Cangliosi. If you look him up in Texas, you will find this kid. He's maybe a year behind Aiden, and he's out of his mind good. And he's the videos he uploads about him working with his coach at like a TB12 type deal, and it's Texas, of course. I mean, his Pop Warner field is bigger than Gillette, for God's sakes, So he's absolutely on a track to go and just become, if he doesn't become a college quarterback, it'll be shocking, right? And there's a lot of kids that are doing that. Just the probability of these camps and all this stuff, and you're like, oh no, my kid's gonna be a professional. Well, I mean, there is the PLL.
Only so many.
Aiden also knows study hard, right? So because you got to make sure that. But that I think you make a great point, Billy. I think there's so much specialization now. These kids are showing up. Should they make college? Should they make the pros? On the verge of breaking because of the stress they put their frames through all these years. They are one pitch away from Tommy John surgery by the time they get there. When you're watching these, and now social media has proliferated this. Oh my God, my kid can throw 108 watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Does he have a beard? Is he smoking? What is happening? How old is your Cuban pitcher son? Yeah. Is he 13 or is he 48? I'm confused, right? And what parents will do to get their kids to the next level is also frightening, Yeah. But I think Billy makes a great point. I think there's so much specialization. It's wearing people out earlier. And that's why they get to the pros and they're like, I got an inning in me, and we're gonna get there. I guarantee we're gonna get there. There's gonna be 3 innings for the starting pitcher,
especially with that sport, with the throwing. It's not a natural movement for your arm, throwing anything. So it really puts a strain on the elbow.
Yeah, I think if you're in beer league softball after that first game, any older guy can attest. Oh shit! I wasn't ready for that. You throw like the feeling out of your arm. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah, because I throw righty and I right righty. I'm like, I can't sign any checks this week. I don't know what you want me to do. Like, let's get out the rubber stamp and I'll just hit it with my nub. Like, yeah, I have no idea what's happening. But anyway, I think we touched all the bases. I think everyone's free to go. Next week, Scotty Dukes will apparently still be at a wedding. I'm going to be in West Virginia. Tell the world my story if I don't come back. I think you're going to have Rubber Shoes. Do we have Little Shoes next week?
I'm not sure what his schedule is.
Okay. You'll have Adam back next week, Rubber Shoes, and possibly a Bobby Dugan sighting. Possibly. That will be interesting. Otherwise, Rubber Shoes, I want you to.
It's going to be all baseball next week.
If it's you and Adam next week, I just want you to talk about the Biden presidency. That'll be enough. That'll be all the content we need. That'll be all the content we need. Look at
I'm never talking politics on this show.
Never. No, it's a safe space. It's a safe space.
It's a safe
space. There's no agreeing.
Yeah. You'll notice in the logo, we've got the red and the blue, right? Yes.
Yeah.
All the parties are there. And anyway, so that being said, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. If you're enjoying the content, please do share and comment on YouTube, on Instagram, and of course, every morning on Instagram, you get the Rubber Shoes wrap up and rant. And the link tree is in our bio there, so you can find all of our other socials. We'll see you next week. Have a great week. Thank you, boys. Have a great night. Oh, my mouse isn't working. Hang on. Stand by. I'll show it.
Magic.
Yeah.
That's
the blooper reel.
Hang on. What are we doing?
Oh my God.
Love you.